Do you hear that? Sound of a mechanical punch clock. That's not just the sound of a machine, it's the sound of a revolution. It's the sound of your time no longer being your own. Before this simple, mechanical box, the line between your work and your life was blurry. You worked until a task was done, but this machine, this humble time clock, changed everything. It turned your day into a series of quantifiable, monetized seconds. It was the original workplace surveillance, the ancestor of the very software that might be tracking your keystrokes right now. So how did this one invention manage to take control of the most valuable thing we have, our time? The story is more than just gears and paper cards. It's about the battle for control on the factory floor, a battle that continues to this day, right on your laptop. So why does a 130-year-old machine still matter? Because its ghost is all around us. The physical punch card may have been replaced by the plastic key card, the fingerprint scanner, or the login screen, but the principle is exactly the same. We have just traded the mechanical ka-chunk for the silent digital ping. The legacy of the time clock is in the software that tracks how long you spend on a task. It's in the active status dot on your company's chat program. It's in the analytics that measure your output, your response times, your productivity. The factory floor has expanded to our home offices, and the foreman's stopwatch has evolved into sophisticated algorithms. The quest for efficiency that Taylor started has reached its logical conclusion, a world where every second of work can be monitored, measured, and optimized. This old story forces us to ask some very modern questions. In our efforts to become more productive, have we lost something human? When work is reduced to a set of metrics, what happens to creativity, collaboration, and our own sense of well-being? The time clock didn't just teach us to be on time, it taught us that our time could be owned by someone else. Understanding its history helps us see our modern work culture not as an invention of the digital age, but as the continuation of a century-long trend to turn human effort into pure data. To understand the power of the punch clock, we have to go back to a time before clocks ruled the world. Before the Industrial Revolution, for most people, time was natural. The sun rose, the day began. The sun set, the day ended. A blacksmith worked until the horseshoes were forged. A farmer worked until the field was plowed. Work was measured in tasks, not minutes. Your word was your bond. But then, steam engines roared to life, and factories began to dot the landscape. Thousands of people were brought together under one roof, each a small part of a massive interconnected process. And this created a huge problem: synchronization. How do you get 1,000 workers to start and stop at the same time? How do you ensure the person working the spinning jenny is there when the raw cotton arrives? At first, factories relied on bells or steam whistles, but this was imprecise, and more importantly, it relied on trust. Factory owners complained of time theft, workers arriving a few minutes late, leaving a few minutes early, or taking longer breaks. These stolen minutes, multiplied by thousands of workers, added up to a fortune. The owners needed a solution. They needed an enforcer, an impartial mechanical judge that couldn't be argued with. Enter Willard LeGrand Bundy, a jeweler from Auburn, New York. In 1888, he patented what is considered the first modern time clock. His device was brilliant in its simplicity. Each worker was assigned a unique key. When they arrived, they would take their key, insert it into the clock, and give it a turn. Inside, the machine would print the worker's number and the exact time onto a roll of paper tape. There was no fudging the numbers, no arguing with the foreman. The machine had spoken. But the real game changer came from a man named Alexander Day. He invented the dial recorder, but his most important contribution was popularizing the punch card. Instead of a single paper roll, each worker got their own card. You'd slide your card into a slot, press a lever, and K-chunk, your time was stamped. Now, payroll wasn't just easier to calculate, it was a physical record of your presence, your punctuality, your very existence within the factory walls. This technology spread like wildfire. Companies like the International Time Recording Company, which would later merge to become IBM, couldn't make them fast enough. The time clock became a fixture in every factory, every mill, every major workplace. But its impact went far beyond just tracking hours. It fundamentally changed the relationship between the worker and their work. The punch card became a symbol of a new era of management, an era obsessed with efficiency and control. This was the age of Frederick Winslow Taylor and his theory of scientific management. Taylor believed that every single task, down to the tiniest motion, could be optimized for maximum efficiency. He and his disciples would stand on factory floors with stopwatches, timing every movement. The time clock was their ultimate tool. It provided the raw data to fuel their quest for the perfect, most productive worker. The clock didn't care if you were tired, if your child was sick, or if the streetcar was late. It only cared about the numbers. For workers, this was dehumanizing. They were no longer skilled artisans. They were cogs in a machine, their value measured in tenths of an hour. The phrase punching the clock entered our vocabulary, becoming shorthand for a job you endure, not one you enjoy. It represented the loss of autonomy, the rigid separation of work time from lifetime. Workers tried to fight back. They'd have friends punch in for them if they were running late, a practice that became known as buddy punching. But the companies were always one step ahead, developing new clocks with features to prevent this. The time clock was a relentless, unemotional enforcer of a new industrial discipline. The battle between productivity and personal autonomy that started with a simple clock is still being fought today. What are your thoughts? Have you ever felt the pressure of the digital punch clock in your own job? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to read about your experiences. This channel is all about digging into the hidden histories behind the technologies that shape our lives. This is manual mode. If you found this story fascinating, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the past. And if you're curious about another tool that defined the modern workplace, check out our video on the invention of the filing cabinet right here. Thanks for watching.